Kind of proud of it. But I've never forgotten the pain, you see. My wife was driving 90 miles an hour just from San Antonio. Thank goodness I had the kidney stone started in San Antonio, so it was just 46 miles over there where I could get in the hospital and maybe get some relief. Well, I've had 2 kidney stones now. Maxine was driving 90 miles an hour. I was putting my legs out, my head between my legs and then my head out the window to get some air, try to keep from passing out. Pain that probably a man can have. I don't know about women. I haven't had any children, but I know a woman that's had 1 kidney stone and 3 children. She said she'll have 3 more children. I was trying to get comfortable, and there's no way in the world to get comfortable, but there's my hand on it. If I ever have a 3rd kidney stone, I am going to writhe in pain until I find a urologist who has himself passed a kidney stone. Yesterday. I want the pain seared into their memory when they start manipulating my plumbing. That's all I ask. You got to be easy. Do you know if you're an easy dentist? Do you know that if you're an easy dentist, you can be a poor dentist and still make a living? If you're an easy dentist, if you know how to give injections, if you know that you use the 30-gauge needle, of course it's not going to, what do we call it? I've lost the word. Aspirate. It's not real too, but up here in this area, if you use a real sharp, even a bigger needle, but if you'll distract them at the same time, if you wiggle that lip, if you learn to do that and realize that you can pull the tissue over the needle instead of saying, you want to tonight? And you see these tears coming down, in this very rough area. If you've ever had anything done here, how many people in here have never had any dentistry done on them? You going to have something done before you leave? How you know how it feels? I'm not saying you should. Can you see this? I sat there hundreds of hours. I didn't take care of my teeth when I was little bitty. My mother was left a widow at the age of 34 with 2 boys raised at high depression with no money and no life insurance. And I believe in life insurance, I believe in money, and I believe in that luck is spelled W-O-R-K because my mother worked like hell. She didn't have any equal rights. I believe you ought to be a caring dentist. I think you ought to have a lot of sense. I think you ought to be friendly. And yes, some dentists just got it opposite. They got a dental assistant who talks too much, and they got a reticent receptionist. Got them reversed. Ought to have a dental assistant that doesn't talk too much, and you can use code. Ought to have the woman who's good or the man who's good out there where they get the money. That's the talker. Because they don't want to part with the green. And today, the dentists are saying they're getting more hot checks than they've ever gotten in their life, so money gets tight. You're going to have to know a lot about this. Cause and effect. You got to know a lot about money. Articles written, and I'm sure Mitt never telling you, but articles written how we got behind the money curve. How we got trapped. Some people look at you as dollar signs when you graduate. Bond salesmen, stock salesmen, insurance salespeople. You ought to know about those things, and I hope you do. I hope you've been told about these things. I hope you've been told a little bit about investments. I hope at least you know something. I hope you know more than the government does, because the government doesn't know. The only person in the world who knows what a deficit is now in Georgia, Bert left. Bert Lance left, went back to Georgia. He knows now what it means to be overdrawn. He knows that a deficit is what you got when you ain't got as much as you had when you had nothing. He knows what balance of payments is. That's very simple. If your income does not exceed your outgo, your upkeep becomes your downfall. But if you have some common sense, you'll realize that if you do gross $30,000 one year, your net is going to be what? What? I'd say 10, 12. Next year you gross 40. What's your net going to be? 14. Not 10 more. And forgive me, ladies, you got to train your spouse if you're the dentist. And men, you got to train your wife to believe that if you get 10,000 gross extra, you ain't got 10. They cannot go out and spend that gross. And so you get behind the power curve, and people are willing to give you all kinds of credit cards. Just worlds of them. You can just get all kinds of credit cards. Get them through the mail. Makes it so easy. See? Then all of a sudden you find out that you're not making enough money, and suddenly you're paying somebody every third month. Dentists do this because dentists are not taught anything about money much. Maybe you are. I'm not fair when I say that because I don't know how much you're talking about money. But I know you can't get behind the power curve, and this can cause you to fail. See, you know a lot about dentistry. You're going to be surprised how much you know about dentistry. You're going to be surprised also how little you know because you're going to have to learn a lot more. But they're not going to quit you because of what you know about dentistry. I've been doing a survey for 15 years. I have never had anybody tell me they quit their dentist because of dentistry. They don't know anything about dentistry. You and I know about dentistry. They don't. They know whether you know their name. They know whether you treat them kindly. They know how you shake hands. They know whether you treat them as a thing or not. And they'll quit you for that. I hope that you'll sit down in your chair every now and then and look around. Any butt spots? Any hair in the cuspidor? Look from here. Why don't you see how easy it is for you to park outside like a patient? Maybe you've got a parking place. How easy is it for you to do business with them? You know, in a small town that merchants park in front of their own business all day? Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense? They're taking up their own parking. One of the biggest problems they have is the merchants parking in front of their own place of business. It makes it so hard to do business with them. You ought to get in your car and drive around and see if you can get a parking place in front of your building. And then walk up your stairs. How many stairs you got? You got enough for elderly people? How about your signs? Don't you love to go to a motel that says M-O-T-L? Makes you think that something's missing inside. You got to have some common sense. You got to go and pay somebody, even if you have to call your receptionist. Say, call my receptionist and see how she treats you, and say, get a little disturbed. See how she treats you. Mrs. Fox was being abrupt to a patient one day, and I said, we're going to put up a mirror, Miss Fox, and see how you can see how mad you get when you're talking to a mirror. She said, I'd like to see you take some of the stuff I have to take. I said, they spit on me. I said, besides, that's your job, isn't it? That's why we hire you. You got to know how to do these things. You got to take a little guff because they do spit on me, and they cuss me, and they me. And they tell me they don't like me. They make me feel bad. They don't stroke me like my mother did. They kick me out of the womb. It all matters, doesn't it? If you're going to be able to sell dentistry, we've got to get out of here and eat. If you're going to be able to sell dentistry, you're going to have to picture the benefits in their eyes. How are you going to sell x-rays to people that don't want them? What are you going to say if they say, I don't want that x-ray? What are you going to say, doctor? You need the x-ray. That's no good. They don't care whether you need it or not. What I say? Benefits. Think benefits now. How are you going to say it? Well, I said it humorously. Why is it that I can tell people they got 4 cavities and I could take a drill and grind into good teeth where they did not have cavities if I were a con? And they would not mind, would they? Why is it when I first started practicing dentistry and I told them they needed x-rays, they'd say, do you really need those x-rays? And I felt like saying, what I felt like saying to those people. I said, yes. How can I see the other 2/3 of the tooth that I can't see and see and benefits you? How can we do your dentistry properly? I don't say I need the x-ray. I say you need the x-ray. They say, do you really need a handheld microphone? I said, no, I don't need one. They need one. I've heard my talk. I said, I want them to hear it. Because I think they can benefit from it if I hear it. You got to be able to turn it around. But first I did that with humor. A man had come in and I say, he had a toothache. I said, I'll take an x-ray of that. And he said, no, you won't. People tell me that. I said, how's that? He said, you don't need an x-ray. I used to say, well, they told me in dental school I needed an x-ray. He said, well, you don't need one. I said, well, I guess you're right. The customer's always right. He said, right. I said, probably don't need his glasses either. I said, sir, you didn't leave, did you? Oh, I said, there you are. You look kind of blurry sitting over there now. When I pick up that high-speed drill, you start whistling so I can zero in on you. We'll make a real sport proposition out of this thing. He said, take your dadgum x-ray. They're not what? They're not thinking. They're thinking they're thinking. Are they doing what's best for them? No. I got to go. Now, I got to make them believe this. How do I do that? First, because I can use humor. Humor is a great what? Relaxer. They can't laugh and not feel better. They can't laugh and not be relaxed. I've done these things in my office. I'm not saying you can do it. I'm saying if you can, that's great. Girl came to my office one day. She's a college student. Had her mouth like this. Wouldn't open her mouth. I said, why are you doing like that? She said, well, I don't want you to look in here. I said, why don't you want to look in here? She started kind of smiling. She said, because when you look in here, you are going to see a hole. That ring in this back here. And when I did look in there, I said, you're wrong. There's not a hole, there's no tooth. Just a hole in the gum. But there are two roots on there. Just a little bit of tooth and two roots. She said, Dr. Jarvis, I'm scared to death. And I said, well, don't be, because I wouldn't want us both to be over here. I said, you know, I didn't become a dentist till I got too nervous to be a riveter here. Some way that is so ludicrous that she now relaxes, see? Like the kamikazes. Some way it helped, right? Like when I was flying a TBM-3S off a carrier. I wasn't a dentist in the Navy, I was a pilot. And two of those TBM-3Ss, this was a new sonar-equipped airplane, and it was a prototype, and the two that were before my airplane, there were only three of them made, and two of them had exploded. And they did not know why. This is reassuring. Well, I lined my crew up that day. I had a radioman and a gunner, and it's not easy to line two people up. I said, line up, men. An announcement from the captain. Heritage and tradition has it that in the Navy, in case of emergency, the captain always goes down with the ship. However, today there will be a slight change. And if you hear me say bail out, it's going to sound like this, bail out. And if you say, what? You're going to be talking to you. I want you to know that. All right. I would do that thing first. I would be that funny, that partial, that ridiculous. Okay, say what you want. But they would relax. They would do that in my office. Then I would go on to educate them. Then I could tell them, you really don't want to do this, and I'm going to tell you why. You only got two sets of teeth given to you in your life. Your baby teeth are gone. I didn't say deciduous teeth, and I'll tell you why this afternoon. I said, your baby teeth are gone, and now you've lost half of these. But you are not a lizard, really, you're not. You're not going to go any others. Again, here's my word on it. I could do people like that, and some way they saw it was funny, and they would relax. For me, they saw it was funny. From you, maybe not. I only had one person in my whole practice that resented it. This was an elderly lady. She said, I'm no punster. I can see that. Where do you think I got that thing about the hatchet-faced old biddy? To this college girl, I still remember what I said. I said, if I hurt you at all, she told me she's afraid of needles. I said, if I hurt you at all with the injection, I didn't say needle, I'll buy you the biggest steak in town. She said, Dr. Irvin, I'm going to call you on that. I said, you ought to see my mill. But when I was, pardon the ego, when I was an excellent dentist and knew how to put my thumb there and shake the head as I gave that mandibular, and they never felt it. And I talked to them and kind of massaged them at the same time. They thought I was great. And I've had them get right up out of that chair and hug me when they found out that I'd already given them the injection. But we got some people. Go to an MD sometime with a wart. They got to anesthetize this. They go right in the middle. And that smarts. I've had 7 nevi removed from the pubic area. I sat on my own commode and deadened myself. I took that syringe and I went an inch down under each one of those, and I walked in there and said, have at it. So you see, I know what I can do, and I know what I did in the dental office. You may think that I've talked against patients. I haven't. You're going to find out that I'm right. You're going to find out 5 years from now that I'm right. They are like this. They do not want what you sell. They'd much rather buy something else. They don't realize, however, that they need to take care of themselves so they will have the money to buy it. They won't have to waste it on their teeth. If they clean their teeth, they will not decay. You've got to teach them this. You've got to talk to them from their standpoint, from their benefit, so they will know that you are interested in them and not just you. I think the obligation of the dentist is to offer the patient the chance to accept or reject the treatment plan that you as a dentist know is best for the patient, not the dentist. I think if you can do this, you will get far richer than you ever dreamed. But the key words in there are accept or reject. The key words in there are treatment plan. Are you going to have a treatment plan? Are you going to have 2 or 3? What do we mean by best? And are you going to be able to offer it to them because of all the communication courses that you've had? Are you going to be able to talk to people? Are they going to know what you're talking about? Are you going to use words like periodic glaze? Are you going to realize that when that glaze comes over their eyes, they're not listening to you? How are you going to know this? You're going to realize that people want to give up their teeth. They think the way out is to get rid of them. Get those dentures. I was in South Carolina the other day, and a dentist owns a motel. A big neon sign, patients welcome. It's an extraction clinic. Dentures, $45. That's what guy. If I had my way, he'd be drummed out not only of the profession, but out of the United States. These patients soon find that after those dentures, he doesn't want to see them anymore. See, this is a worth deal, and to me, success is not a one-shot deal, because this afternoon at the last, I'm going to tell you that you got to do something worthwhile, and you've got to make it worthwhile in your life, and you got to get it free of frustration. And this is important. You're going to have to think fun. So they're going to come in there like they used to come in today. Want all my teeth took out. A high-class clientele. I believe in class, you know. I like this group. Looks like class. Paul Harvey quoted me the other day. He's a nice guy. I don't mean to be a name dropper, but he's a great guy and a great American. And he said, my good funny friend down there at Dr. Jarvis had a patient come in, and the guy said, Doc, what can I do for yellow teeth? And I said, you wear a brown tie. Well, now that's class, isn't it? You go on and tell him what he can do for your teeth. What an upright cat are doing for your teeth. How is this girl reacting? Maybe this new ski suit will get him. Emotional. Romance. Know anything about emotional appeal? Why didn't we learn anything about that? That's the way you're going to have to get people to do what's best for them. But that's it. They're saying, maybe this new ski suit. Now she's got green breath and yellow teeth. And she's thinking about a ski suit. And a friend is trying to tell her, look, Turkey, you know, I don't want to have to tell you the truth. Why don't you use Ultra Bright? No, that's just too pink. What are my friends saying? Maybe I need a new brochure. I said, no, maybe you need to get better. They say, maybe I need to put you with Norman Vincent Peale. They think they can be good by association. A friend of mine had a brochure. He had it made, and got a picture in there of him shaking hands with Paul Harvey and Zig Ziglar and Norman Vincent Peale. And in every one of them, he's telling the photographer, be sure and get this. And there he is, in every one of them, just like that. Mr. Peale looks like he's looking for his cab. You know, he's 80-something years old, but here's his turkey. And he thinks he can be good by association. You can't be good by association. You got to be good and then get better. And do it every time. People come there like that man did. He said, I want all my teeth took out. I said, sir, you can't mean that. He said, I knew it. You're going to give me an argument. These are my teeth, ain't you, brother? I said, yes, sir, they are, but I have an obligation. One obligation, I try to get you to save your teeth. You're going to need them. How about when you die? When I die? I certainly won't need them when I die. Did you believe in the Bible? He said, of course I believe in the Bible. I said, then you're going to need them when you die. Well, the two places you know, that's heaven or hell, you're going to need them. In heaven, the Bible says, when you land in milk and honey, nothing I think of went through eternity than gum and honey. Have you ever thought about that? what if you die and you go to hell? He said, I guess I'll need them in hell. I said, of course you will. Because in hell, in the Bible, it says in hell there's going to be a weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth. Now picture this, you're going to get down there and you're not going to have any. Your friends are going to have theirs. They're going to be having this time, gnashing. Going to give you a complex. He says, shut up and fill them teeth. Well, you got to believe me. I'm interested in you. I just hope you're interested in the patient. I did that in my office to make them laugh, to relax, and then I went on and educated them. I thank you for the attention you give me today. You may not think that you've learned anything, but let me tell you, sometimes you got to tell them what they've learned. If you've learned that to every tooth there's a type of person, you've learned an awful lot that some dentists don't know. See you at what time? 1:30. Thank you so much. I hope you realize that I can stand here all day and entertain you. I can stand here all day and tell you stories and make you laugh, but that's not my real purpose. Like I said in the dental office, humor is a vehicle to make people think without making them mad. Also, questions are. We're going to talk about motivation now, and if you can't use humor, then at least you ought to be able to use questions. Your children use questions on you. They say, why? And they say, why? And they say, why? Until you can't answer anymore. I keep looking to the mouth and I'd say, are you a masochist? And they'd say, am I what? I said, are you able to intentionally hurt yourself? Well, of course not. I say, why are you doing this to yourself? Why am I doing what to myself? And I said, let me show you this mirror. The first thing, as far as I'm concerned, when I went to the University Dental School at San Antonio, the first thing I did, I found out the students in the clinic did not have mirrors, and I got mirrors. I said, I want you to keep that in the patient's left hand. I want you to let them watch you work, and you show them, because you inform to perform, and you can show them that you're not going to hurt them. You can show them when I was flying. I acted like people had never flown before. I said, I'm going to act like completely ignorant. Please forgive me, but I'm going to explain everything to you. I don't want you to be scared. Remember, I'm here too. A man came in my office one day, and he said, how much cost to pull this tooth? And I said, $8 a long time ago. He said, how much cost to pull it? I said, $5. He said, pull it. Now, I didn't say, we don't say pull teeth, we say remove teeth. We say extract or remove. The best word, I think, is remove. I didn't say, wait a minute, you're not right. We don't pull teeth. You can't pull teeth. You remove teeth. I didn't do it like that. He just asked me that, and I got right into it. And I'm going to educate him later. You've got to remember that I went on to educate these people. When I told him they cost $8 to fill it and $5 to put it, immediately he said, pull it. I said, what if I pull the wrong one? Now, my mind works that way. Maybe yours doesn't work that way. Maybe I'm trying to teach something that you cannot teach. I've taught 3 humor workshops. I cannot teach people to think funny. I found that out. But I can teach them what not to do. If they know that a joke is a brief oral narrative, which they don't know, with a climactic humorous twist, then at least it ought to be brief. And yet we got MCs who paint the sea and the sky and else, and the psychology of this, he's trying to be something besides a joke teller. He's trying to be a humorist. There's a difference. I don't have time today to teach you that. But when this man said, pull it, I said, well, pull the wrong one. Now I've got him interested. I have said what? I've asked him a question that's gotten his curiosity. Also, I've said something real startling. Wrong one? I said, yeah. He said, well, how could you do that? I said, well, easily, if I were as lackadaisical as you are about it. I said, you don't seem to care about your teeth. What if I got your whole jaw deadened? You know, this injection that we give down here deadens that whole left side. And what if I were just to reach in there and I got the wrong one and took her out and said, oops, here. Joke's on me here. Wrong one. I said, would you like that? He said, I would not like that at all. I said, how would you not like it? He said, well, I'd be pretty mad about it. I said, would you be mad at the He said, well, I guess I would. I said, how much do you want? He said, how much? I said, legally, in any court in the land, they're worth $1,000 a piece. He said, what I want, $1,000. I said, why are you trying to give it up for $3? You make people think. It's whether you're buying or selling, isn't it? Make them think. You can do it. You just got to know a lot about folks. Now, I can't teach you all about folks, but I want you to go out and get some books. Hallelujah. Write me a think this. People come up to me all the time, have you got a book list? I said, why don't I give you one book? You don't read a book list, you read a book at a time. Why don't you be thinking broke? Well, that title turns me off. I said, you don't like the word rich. That doesn't mean money, does it? You get rich, spiritual, you get rich by serving people. You get a good feeling inside. That's rich. You say it's high, rich. That doesn't do with money. It has a lot to do with what you mean, what you believe in definitions. You'd ask people questions. When my daughter was 12 years old, I said, Pamela, we got to have a talk. She said, Daddy, I don't want to talk. I said, why not? She said, I know what you want to talk about. I said, how do you know? Well, you want to talk about sex? I said, right. I said, it's not going to be embarrassing. I've got a dental background, medical background. I'm not going to embarrass you, huh? It's very serious. She said, well, I know all that anyway. I said, wow, that's interesting. 12 years old and know all about it. Maybe anything you should tell me? I said, you know that women lay eggs? She got embarrassed. She said, well, I know that. They don't really lay. I said, well, no, they don't, but the ovum pops out of the ovary, and that is called the egg, and it pops out of the ovary. You'll have it out of the ovary into the fallopian tube, down into the uterus, and there it waits to the sperm. She said, yeah, I know all about that. I said, that's very interesting. You ought to write that down. Nobody knows that. No gynecologist knows that. No obstetrician knows that. The miracle of childbirth is how the ovum finds its way into the fallopian tube because the ovary and the fallopian tube are not connected. So no gynecologist knows that, no obstetrician, only Pamela Jarvis. If you don't write that down, it's going to be lost to me. She said, well, maybe I don't know everything. I said, sit down. And we had a little talk. Questions. My son-in-law is in the banking business. The banking business pays notoriously low salaries. For years, he griped about the salary structure. I got tired of it, of hearing. Because I know at the same time they're teaching him a lot. And I think it's a privilege to be paid while you're learning. That's the first article I ever wrote for our district, for our dental journal, state dental journal. It's a privilege to be paid while you're learning. Some people you should pay. You know, I never have forgotten the first time I got the girl in there in a Jude mirror, and I didn't know which way to go. But that was when I was a junior student, and I had to stop that thing, take it out, and go wash my hands. My son-in-law said one time, he was writing about the salary structure, and I said, well, John, how much are you worth to the bank at the time? No, she didn't ask me that way. But see, that is relevant, isn't it? The question is, how much are you worth to the bank? How much income are you producing? You can ask that to a dental assistant. Well, your age, and how much, I'm firing you. How much you think you're worth now to this operation here? Mrs. Fox didn't know much about filing. I wanted the filing system, the hard filing system set up is one that the dentist should have, and that's subject filing. And you should get a book on subject filing. And you can get that from the Oxford Company. Well, I got it. So, Miss Fox was saying, well, I can find everything. I said, but is Gladys going to find it? She said, who's Gladys? I said, that's the lady's going to replace you. Because you won't set up a filing system I want you to. Question. You can make people think by asking them questions. Second easiest thing in the world to do is ask questions. Third easiest thing, remember I told you criticism was first. It was about Ralph Nader. Saw him come down on an airline. I couldn't believe he was riding the Southern Airlines. I saw him come down now, and I recognized him immediately. I ride first class, because they want first class speaker. That's not the only way to get one. I ride first class. Besides, I ride second class. I feel second class. And I like to feel second class. Feel first class. See? I stuck out my hand and stopped him. And I looked up at him and I said, good, this is a safe one, huh? He looked at me like I was a complete nut, which at times I am. We got to be able to motivate people. I want you to get some books by Dr. Glasser. How many people heard of Dr. Dr. Glasser? Was on a program with him in Chicago. He gave a wonderful talk about people. He knows an awful lot about people. He wrote a book called Schools Without Failure, based on the idea that you should not fail people, because if you call a person a failure, they will become a failure. If you tell children that they are failures, they will become failures. If you tell them they're 6 years old, because you see, they will become failures because you ought to know you're a giant in their eyes. If you call them stupid, they might become stupid because that's all the chance they got if they're a giant said that they're stupid. It's the person they more than anyone else said they're stupid, so you never call a person stupid. And you never call them failure. You just say, here's where you are now, and here's where you ought to be. But you never fail. He wrote a book called The Identity Society. It's about the children of the 60s. You ought to get it. Tell people. He wrote a book I'd like for you to get called Reality Therapy. Here he came across a system that he thinks works to deal interpersonal relationships He said he found out something during the 60s, found out by dealing with juvenile girls, mostly. Then he went into the California school system and he found out something very important. And he found out in that book that role precedes goal. That my generation was a goal-oriented society. We were the depression people. We thought we didn't get a job and we didn't work, we'd starve, and we were right. Today, they won't let you starve. Your mother won't let you starve. The children of the 60s knew that. They wouldn't let them starve. You can do a lot of rebellious things if they won't let you starve. You can do a lot of things to eat at attention. But now the government won't let you starve. Sometimes it works better if you've got a little threat hanging over you. St. Paul said, if they don't work, they don't eat. It's pretty good. But he said, he was saying in there to the parents, he said, you will treat them as human beings and tell them where you stand in an imperfect relationship, then they will do anything you want to. All they're saying is, don't treat me like a slave. Treat me like a human being, and then tell me what you want, and I may exceed what you want. Very, very, very interesting man. He's written a book called Positive Addiction. I bought the other day. It's been out a few years, but it's about the idea that we always associate addictions negatively. We ought to associate addiction positively. Because you can be positively addicted to quality. Then you don't have to worry about the number of dentists. Incidentally, I was wrong this morning. It's 406. I didn't realize I'd taken 10 out of the bailiff commitment. If that's the right word. Glasser is smart. I like Glasser. He said Freud's wrong. He said the biggest hang-ups are not sexual, aggressives. He said if you are not happy, now listen to me. Because remember, if our professor is killing themselves, well, my class makes it. And when I asked the Dylan groups, I'll say, how many of you know a dentist who has killed himself in the last 2 years? He has his hands in blood. One man in Dallas cut his femoral artery. That's the way to die. I can think of a lot better ways to die. That's really like that old joke about a man killing himself, in the bathtub, didn't want to die. Wife shot her husband with a arrow so she wouldn't wake up in. All these old death jokes said, shot him in the bathtub, didn't want to die. They didn't know because one lady juror said she was high. And I didn't know. Listen to me. He said, if you're not happy today, and if you're not successful today, chances are very good that you are not living responsibly. But I tell you this point, maybe your fault. I had to say that before I said it. It's been a lot to me. It's been a lot to me in my life. It's been a lot to me as I talk to people around the United States. He said, you are not responsibly. Now, these authors say things like that, and then you have to turn a few pages, of course, that they want to sell the book. All the book. They don't want you just to open it and find out it right there. You've got to turn a few more pages and say, what do you mean by living responsibly? And he said, a few pages over, you are fulfilling your needs. Now, what's the next question? What are our needs? He said, your needs are twofold. That's to love and be loved. And second, do something worthwhile, not only to yourself, but to someone else. This hit really hit me, maybe you don't agree, but from what I've learned over the last years, of talking to people all over the United States that haven't been a practitioner for 12 years, to me it really hits it on the head. Dentistry is not loved. There are 22 programs on the air, TV, that have the MD as the hero. There are no dentists except two half-wit neighbors. One is on rerun, that's Dick Van Dyke. The other one is who? Bob Newhart, a kook. A real kook, a flake. But we're third in image. In other words, there is a lot of credibility here. So we tend only to put the negative things. We're third out of 22. You know who's last? Who's very last? Politicians. They're below used car salesmen. So we ought to be proud of being a dentist. When I got out of the Navy, I had 5 cousins that were physicians of brother-in-law. And I picked industry. I said, I want to pick a profession where I can have talent taught to me, where they can't take it away from me easily, where I have good hours and a good income, and I work where I please, and get a spiritual reward besides money. In some way I knew I had to have that spiritual reward. I knew it before the master told me. God, I've been be loved. Is the dentist loved? People come up and say, I love my dentist. I say, I still bet you tell him or her that he's coming up. They say, well, how do that all right? But then how can you love them if you treat them like that? You're killing me. They need stroking just like everybody needs stroking. Stroke, stroke, stroke. They all need stroking. You gotta love and be loved. I know some dentists and other patients say it's not coming back the other way though. They don't admit it. They finally admit it. And I asked them, who taught this? Have you told them these things? Have you told them how much you care for them? Have you told them, can't you see what I'm trying to do? I don't want to do to you. I want to do for you. Can you understand that? Can you say it so sincerely that you can see the sincerity? Can't you see what I'm here today? You got to do something worthwhile. Not only yourself, but to someone else. Benefit. Why do you think I'm talking benefit? Because it wouldn't be worthwhile. You wouldn't feel good about your public image. You wouldn't feel good about your self-esteem if you only did something that's worthwhile for you. You do a world of things to make more money than in this business.